Let's make you front door company this time. Hi there, welcome back. Welcome to part 3 of What's on My Walls. And this time, I thought we'd take a look at my admiration for Japanese art and really the thinking that gets them there. This is from 1847, Utagawa Kuniyoshi, image number 13 of his legendary 50-panel series on the 47 Ronin, which is too long to go into here, but it's a legendary story in Japanese history and literature. Kuniyoshi was born in 1791, and this is a first edition, first printing. In the 1990s, the whole edition of 50 was published in a beautiful, big coffee table book. Right after Kuniyoshi's death in 1861, a contemporary of his decided a portrait was needed. None existed. So he did this. Utagawa Kuniyoshi from 1847 and the 50-panel series, 47 Ronin. And just to the right of the Kuniyoshi is Yamaoka Beika's Water's Edge, except I had no idea of any of that when it arrived from Japan. So I sent emails out to Japanese museums in California and Hawaii, and it took 2 or 3 weeks, but I finally heard from one of the museums in California who said, "This looks like Beika," and the research from there substantiated that, and it was a kick to figure out who finally had done this. Yamaoka Beika, born in 1872. Not a whole lot is known about him. His day job was, I guess, court clerk for the ministry in Japan. He pretty quickly became what's called a Nanga painter, which is a heavily philosophical, really based on the China intelligentsia. Beika was a comer. By 1909, he was a judge of the annual art competition, but he always had health problems, and he succumbed to them at the age of 43 in 1914. Up next, if you're talking Western world, top of mind artistically as far as Japan is concerned, Hokusai would certainly be up there, and right up there with him, Ando Hiroshige. And this is panel number 25 of his 1855 edition, The 53 Stations of the Tokaido. The thing about Hiroshige is that in his time, all of these sales of these woodblocks of his didn't make him very famous, and certainly not wealthy. He didn't rise to the upper echelons of world art until over in Europe, the Impressionists and Post-Impressionists, it was a fad. Name all the big names from that era in Europe, and they were collecting Japanese woodblocks. This is Monet's dining room, wall-to-wall Japanese woodblocks, many of which are Hiroshige's. If you've watched part 1 and part 2 of this series, you know that all of this is happening, walking around looking at my walls, because we're in lockdown from the pandemic. And the irony is it connects to Hiroshige. 3 years after the issuance of this series, he himself died from a pandemic in Japan. Finally, over here near the back porch door is my favorite guy, Konoshima Okoku. I love this story. I love his work. And I'm so proud to have gotten a hold of Crows and Trees from roughly 1910. He was such an artistic comer when he hit his 20s. He won the Japanese art competition in both 1899 and again in 1903, and in both instances, the imperial household bought his pieces. 1911 was marked by his creation of a masterpiece that then went missing for nearly 100 years. And this was his winner in 1912, a 12-panel job called Winter Moon, which vaulted him the following year into the role of a judge. By the 1920s, he was starting to take some heat for not getting with modern times and modern art. He refused to do it, and by the 1930s, a critic reviewed his entire career and just ripped him. And that, with some other criticisms, led to his suicide in 1938. But here's where the story gets really good. 2008, a great-grandson finally gets admission to his home that has sat shuttered for 60 years in Kyoto. With an art historian in hand, they get into the house in Kyoto and find a time capsule frozen in time, just as it was in the 40s when the house was last lived in. And down the hall is found that missing masterpiece from 1911, Hunting Competition, which is immediately restored to great acclaim. The headlines scream, "Lost Master Found," all of which led to major retrospectives, 2 of them in the 20 teens. Konoshima Okoku, Crows and Trees. Well, that does it for this time around. Thanks for stopping in. And very soon, we'll take you to another part of the house and what's on my walls.